Okay, so get this. We're diving into a supernatural battle going down in Salem's End.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Right. We've got these excerpts from Revelations,
Yeah.
The Darkness Beneath, by Bevan Studstill.
Okay.
And this is some intense stuff.
Yeah, I was hooked from the first page.
Seriously. Have you ever wondered, like, what would happen if those seals from the book of Revelation actually broke?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Big question.
hold on tight, because we're about to find out.
Buckle up.
So Salem's End,
Okay.
it's this coastal town, right?
Right.
Very reliant on fishing, but things aren't exactly going swimmingly.
Yeah, no kidding. The author really creates this sense of unease, like the town's holding its breath.
Totally. Like something's lurking just beneath the surface.
Exactly. What did you think about the town's depiction?
Oh man, it's like the town itself is a character,
Right.
with all these secrets and whispers of darkness.
It's like the very foundation of Salem's End is built on something sinister just waiting to erupt.
And that failing fishing trade.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like a symbol.
Yeah. Like their lifeblood's being drained away.
Exactly. Now, right off the bat, we meet Father Michael Reeves.
Or disillusioned priest.
Right. Wrestling with his faith, haunted by some past sin.
Yeah.
And then, bam, he has this crazy nightmare.
Oh, man, that nightmare.
A desert on fire, angels with broken wings, a voice chanting in Latin.
Intense.
Talk about heavy stuff.
It's like a premonition, foreshadowing the breaking of the first seal.
And when that happens, it's not just symbolic.
Yeah.
A skeletal rider on a pale horse appears in Salem's End.
The first horseman of the apocalypse making his grand entrance.
Whoa! That imagery is wild. And then the stained glass windows of the church shatter as the seal breaks.
Oh, yeah, that's a powerful image.
Talk about setting the stage.
It's like the veil between the sacred and the profane is torn apart.
Leaving the town totally vulnerable.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the unwritten.
Oh yeah, they're not your typical demons or devils.
No, there's something much older and more primal.
They feed on fear and sin.
And they are not happy about these seals being broken.
Not one bit.
What I find fascinating about the unwritten is that they represent this darkness that exists outside of our traditional ideas of good and evil.
It's like a force of nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A reminder of the raw, untamed power that lies at the heart of creation and the way they feed on humanity's fear and sin.
Chilling.
It adds a whole other dimension to this battle.
It's like the story is saying that the scariest monsters aren't always the ones with fangs and claws.
Right.
Sometimes it's the darkness within ourselves.
Exactly. And that's what the unwritten exploit.
Our weaknesses?
Our vulnerabilities, the things we try to hide from ourselves and others.
Okay, so how do the good guys fight back?
That's where Sarah comes in.
Father Michael's niece.
Right. She has these prophetic abilities, sketching these disturbing images and experiencing visions.
It's like her sketchbook becomes this weapon against the unwritten.
It's a window into the supernatural world, revealing glimpses of the forces at play and the dangers that lie ahead.
And those sketches aren't just random.
No, they contain symbolic clues, hidden messages that the characters need to decipher.
To understand what they're up against,
Exactly.
I have a feeling her role is going to be huge
Oh, absolutely.
in figuring out how to stop this whole apocalypse thing.
She's key.
So what else happens with these seals breaking?
Well, the second seal breaks,
Uh-oh.
and a violent storm descends upon Salem's End.
Okay, but this isn't your typical thunderstorm.
No, this storm feels alive.
Malevolent.
It's a manifestation of the growing darkness.
And then this cloaked figure appears, calling himself a harbinger,
Oh, yeah.
warning of impending war, of humanity's sins being exposed.
It's like he confirms all their worst fears.
For sure. What struck you about his appearance?
I think it shifts the focus from a purely physical threat to a more spiritual one.
Okay, I see that.
It suggests that the battle for Salem's End isn't just about survival, it's about the very soul of the town.
Wow.
The struggle for redemption in the face of overwhelming darkness.
All right, and here's where things get even creepier.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah's visions reveal that these seals are tied to some hidden sin buried under the town.
Ugh, oh, that's not good.
Right. They discover this abandoned property, the Harper place,
Okay.
with a gnarled tree marked with this Latin phrase, maledictum peccatum.
Which basically translates to the cursed sin.
Yeah. And then they find unmarked graves around the tree.
Oh, wow.
What's the deal with that?
It's like the past is literally coming back to haunt them.
Right.
The abandoned Harper property and those unmarked graves, they're like physical manifestations of the town's buried secrets.
Like they tried to bury their past,
And it's clawing its way back to the surface.
demanding to be reckoned with.
Exactly.
And as if things couldn't get more intense, Other people in Salem's End start having visions and prophecies.
Oh, wow, really?
It's like this supernatural energy is affecting everyone.
It's spreading.
Totally.
So it's not just Father Michael and Sarah anymore.
Yeah.
We see characters like Ruth Eldridge and Jonah Patterson getting pulled into this fight,
Oh, wow.
experiencing visions and nightmares that both terrify and empower them.
So the town itself is awakening.
It's like it's calling upon its people to rise to the challenge.
Wow, that's a great point.
The stakes are getting higher.
Oh, yeah. And we're just getting started.
Can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. This is intense.
And then there's Umbra de Bortrix.
The devouring shadow.
Yeah, descending upon the town as that third seal breaks.
Man, that's a mouthful.
It is, and this thing feeds on fear, spreads like a disease.
I bet the imagery the author uses to describe it is terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just a monster. It's like a force of nature.
So how do the townspeople react to this? I mean, a literal devouring shadow.
Fear grips Salem's End for sure as this thing spreads,
Yeah.
but amidst the chaos, there's this sense of defiance too.
Makes sense they'd have to band together.
Right. This shared threat, it brings the community closer together. They realize they need each other if they're going to survive.
That's often the case, isn't it, in these kinds of stories?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, there's this serpent symbol that keeps popping up,
Oh, yeah.
almost like a visual motif throughout the story.
Right? I noticed that too.
What do you think its significance is?
Well, the serpent, often depicted as Ouroboros, biting its own tail.
Right.
It represents this cycle of creation and destruction.
Okay, I see that.
And it suggests that this battle between good and evil, it's not a one-time event. It's this ongoing struggle throughout history.
That's a really interesting point.
And what if this cycle isn't just happening on this grand cosmic scale, but also within ourselves?
That's a good point. Makes me think about the characters and their own inner conflicts.
Right, their own battles between darkness and light.
It's all connected somehow.
Exactly.
So we've got this terrifying darkness spreading a town on the brink. What happens next?
Well, then we learn about the Keepers of the Veil.
Who are they?
This ancient sect who centuries ago performed a ritual in the crypt beneath Mercy Chapel
Okay.
to seal a breach between worlds.
Oh.
They knew about the seals, the price they had to pay to keep things in check, but their knowledge has been lost over time.
So like their sacrifice has been forgotten and now the town's paying the price.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
About
What knowledge we've lost over time, what sacrifices have been made to protect us from the darkness.
and have we forgotten their importance?
Exactly.
So how do they fight back against this encroaching darkness?
Well, Father Michael Sarah and a small group of others, they realize they need to find a way to reinforce those weakened seals.
Makes sense.
So they venture into the crypt beneath Mercy Chapel, hoping to find answers, a way to perform a counter-rite to push back the darkness,
Going right to the source.
right into the heart of the town's buried secrets.
What's it like down there?
The atmosphere is thick with dread,
I bet.
eerie Latin inscriptions murals depicting this battle between angels and demons.
Oh, wow.
This overwhelming sense of ancient power.
Sounds intense.
And they discovered diaries and scrolls left behind by the Keepers of the Veil.
Oh, so they left clues.
Fragmented clues about the ritual they need to perform
So they have to piece it all together.
from these cryptic fragments.
Sounds risky.
Yeah, the stakes are high.
What are the key elements they need to figure out?
Well, they realize they need specific elements for the counter-rite, blood prayer, and a symbol.
Blood prayer and a symbol.
Yeah. And they also uncovered this warning that any mistake could have catastrophic consequences.
Oh, man, talk about pressure.
Right. The fate of the town rests on their ability to decipher these ancient texts and perform this ritual they barely understand.
It's interesting, though, that they're not just relying on blind faith.
Oh, that's a good point.
They're actively using their intellect, trying to understand the mechanics of the ritual, the symbolism, the connection to the seals.
Right. It's like faith and reason working together.
Exactly. It's a reminder that they aren't mutually exclusive.
You got it.
So they're in this creepy crypt, deciphering ancient texts with the devouring shadow closing in. How does this all come together? Walk us through the ritual.
Okay, so picture this. The storm's raging outside, the devouring shadow is pressing closer, and Father Michael, guided by Sarah's visions and their interpretation of the texts, is preparing for the counter-rite.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He lights candles, filling the crypt with this flickering light that seems to push back against the encroaching darkness.
Okay.
Then he takes this holy water, sanctified by generations of prayer, and pours it onto the altar. And the water reacts violently, sizzling and steaming, as if encountering a force both ancient and corrupt.
like it's fighting back.
Exactly. It's a powerful image. They're walking a tightrope between salvation and destruction.
High stakes indeed.
Jonah, who's been frantically studying those old diaries, realizes they need to anoint the altar with unde origo vitae,
Which means?
the source of life.
Okay, so where do they get that?
Well, that's where things get really intense. They figure out that sanguinis vinculum.
Hold on, I know this one, a bond of blood, right?
You got it.
Wow, so someone have to make a
A
sacrifice.
serious one.
And that someone is.
Father Michael.
Wow.
He understands the true meaning of sacrifice. He knows what he has to do.
What happens next?
With a trembling hand, he takes a ceremonial dagger and cuts his palm, letting his blood drip onto the altar.
Oh man, that's a powerful image.
It's a visceral moment, a true act of faith and desperation.
I can just imagine the tension in that crypt.
It's palpable.
So the climax of the ritual, does it work? What happens?
The crypt shakes violently, this blinding light fills the chamber, and this deafening roar echoes through the tunnel.
Oh, okay, so like an earthquake and an explosion all at once.
It's like the very foundation of the town is being shaken.
So did it work? Did they seal the breach?
The light fades, the tremors subside, and this profound silence descends upon the crypt.
Okay.
The devouring shadow, the umbra divortrix, it's vanished.
They did. They actually sealed it.
They did.
What a relief. But what about the town, the storm, all those people caught in this crazy supernatural battle?
They emerge from the crypt, and it's like a different world. The storm has passed, the sky is clear, and this golden light bathes Salem's end.
Wow, talk about a transformation.
It's like a scene of rebirth, hope renewed.
It's beautiful how the author uses light and darkness to symbolize the struggle between good and evil.
Yeah.
And this sense of peace after the storm, it must feel like a miracle to the townspeople.
Absolutely. As they make their way back through the town, they're greeted with tears of joy relief.
I bet.
The people of Salem's End, they've been through a lot, but they've come together to support each other.
It's amazing how often that happens, you know.
Right?
In the face of tragedy, people find strength in each other.
They prove that even in the face of unimaginable darkness, the human spirit can endure.
That's such a powerful message about community resilience.
And what's really striking is that this victory wasn't achieved through brute force or magical powers.
It was about something more.
It was about sacrifice faith, a willingness to face the darkness head on.
Ordinary people choosing to stand together believe in something greater than themselves.
Exactly.
But even with this victory, there's this lingering sense of unease, right?
Yeah, definitely. Father Michael warns that evil seldom dies, it only waits.
And Sarah senses that this might not be the end.
It's a bittersweet ending, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The immediate threat is gone, but the forces of darkness are still out there, waiting for their chance to return.
Makes you wonder what happens next.
Right. Will Salem's End be prepared for the next battle?
Will they remember the lessons learned, the sacrifices made?
It makes you think about your own life, your own community.
For sure, what secrets are lurking beneath the surface?
And what are we willing to do to protect the things we hold dear?
And maybe the most important question,
Yeah.
who will be the keepers of the veil in our time?
Who will stand against the darkness when it inevitably returns?
Heavy stuff. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. It's been a wild ride through biblical prophecy, supernatural battles, and the power of human resilience.
My pleasure anytime.
And to our listeners out there, thanks for joining us. Keep those candles lit and that holy water handy just in case.